The Bride, a movie that stars Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley. It's a reimagining of the iconic Frankenstein character that has been told many times, but this time it's told from a different perspective, from the bride herself. And what makes this film such a unique film, that it tells the perspective from Ida, who is possessed by Mary Shelley, the author of the original Frankenstein book. And she possesses Ida, and you kind of see her journey throughout the entire film being controlled by the author. It's something we've never really seen before that much in a movie, where you see the author of the book kind of be a huge part of the story. It's like J.K. Rowling taking control of Harry Potter, or J.R.R. Tolkien taking control of the Lord of the Rings, and telling the story while you're watching the movie. And I thought that was a very unique perspective, especially the fact that this is a movie about female empowerment and feminism. And of course, the author of Frankenstein is written by a woman at a time where a lot of female authors weren't necessarily had enough opportunities in the early 1800s. So I really thought that was a very creative risk that the director and the studio chose to take, was to kind of tell the story through that avenue, something that doesn't really happen in a lot of movies. Another aspect of this film that I really enjoyed was the Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale, their dynamic and their chemistry that we see throughout the entire movie. We get to see their relationship, particularly Frankenstein and Ida slash the bride, throughout the entire film, where they kind of fall in love and they have this Bonnie and Clyde, Sid versus Nancy dynamic that we get to see from beginning to end. The film does feel a little chaotic. It's very ambitious, chaotic, and a little messy. It feels like a film that has like 7 different genres put into one. You have a drama film, an action film, a love romance, and a kind of detective story. In a way, it kind of feels like Frankenstein, where they're putting all these stories together all into one, ironically. But it does work. I do like films like that. I like films that are risky and ambitious and are willing to put 7 or 8 genres all into one film. I really enjoyed that. Some people aren't gonna like it. I enjoyed it, but ultimately I think it works for the story. It's set in the 1930s in Chicago, sort of this noir detective story. The clothes, the set designs. It's an $80 million budget film. You see it on screen. You see the big budget, the scale. It all works. There are great supporting casts. Annette Bening plays sort of the mad scientist. You have a sort of subplot between detectives who are chasing the bride and Frankenstein through New York City and Chicago. And there's also gender dynamics that play into their relationship as well. There's also they choose to tell the story of Frankenstein, sort of this lonely, isolated person who struggles with his disfigurement in 1930s America. So he goes and meets the mad scientist, and the way he kind of copes with his loneliness is by watching movies, and that's how he kind of deals with his isolation. And I thought that was a great way to kind of show our parasocial relationship with media, and how certain people use media and art as a way to escape from their own lives. And there are also great references to that. They reference the movie Top Hat and some other films as well, and they do a great job showing how movies play a role in a lot of men's loneliness, not just men and women's loneliness in the world. Another issue I had with the film was some of the subplots. There's a mobster subplot in the film, where one of the mobsters is like an Al Capone type who's on the hunt for Ida and wants her killed. I didn't think you really needed that. I thought that story was a little unnecessary, but it doesn't really hurt the movie that much. It just seemed a little forced. It doesn't really, to me, it was kind of unnecessary. But another thing that I really enjoyed about the movie was they didn't ignore. They had a vision and they were willing to stick to with it. This is obviously they had a feminism, female empowerment storyline, where the character Ida kind of inspires a bunch of women to start a revolution. And I think that was part of the vision that the director wanted. She wanted to tell the story from the perspective of the bride and from Mary Shelley. And in 1930s, right, what was it like being a bride in the 1930s and being a woman, having to navigate through that world? I think that's why this movie works, because you have a director and a writer who, with a vision, and she's willing to stick to it, and she's willing to elevate the material with her style. And that's why I enjoyed it. It's a stylistic ambitious film, and it does have its flaws, but ultimately I think the film works. And and it's a risk that the studio took. This was a movie that was originally shipped on Netflix. They chose to bring it on Warner Brothers. It got a theatrical release. So I'm glad that this movie exists because it gives us a different theatrical version of Frankenstein that we don't necessarily see. I think Guillermo del Toro made a Frankenstein film that went straight to Netflix, did not have the theatrical release. I liked. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I liked the style it was shot. If you like this film, please leave a like.